Welcome back, everyone. This is a book review for Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. We're in Chapter 3, The Reality of the Law. So far from chapters 1 and 2, C.S. Lewis talked about the law of nature. It's an idea or expectation for humans, regular people, to behave in a certain way. Even though we have certain expectations, we do not always behave that way. And he thought it was odd. There's a difference between the law of nature, the expectations, versus actual behavior. But some people argue that that's not odd at all. Breaking the law of nature, right and wrong or fair and unfair, only means that people are not perfect. That's very reasonable thinking. And C.S. Lewis also agreed with that proposition that humans are imperfect. However, the very existence of imperfection has certain consequences, he said. Trees and stones, for example, it is what it is, and there's no sense in saying it ought to have been otherwise. No one will ask or think about why is tree not stone, or why is stone not tree. It's just the way it is. That's a nature. So when we talk about the law of nature, for example, gravity, two stones just fell. It says, when you say that falling stones always obey the law of gravitation, because when you drop stones from your hand, it's going to fall to the ground. He says it's the same as saying that the law is what stones always do. If the water falls from higher place to the lower place, the law of gravity, we're saying that's what happens all the time. What the law of nature is, what the nature does all the time. Then, the law of nature, as applied to stones and trees, may only mean what nature in fact does. But if we turn to the law of human nature, it's a different story. It does not mean what humans do all the time. Let me put it this way. There are two different things. What people actually do versus what people should do. These two are not the same. Because the first one, what people actually do are facts. What people should do or ought to do is something else. Sometimes it matches, but a lot of times they don't. So for nature, all we need is facts. For humans, though, it requires further investigation. We have to think this one a little farther than observing the facts. So further considerations. He used these examples of asking questions and answers. The first question is, why should I be unselfish? Answer, because it's good for society. It's good for other people too. The second question is this, why should I care about society or other people? And the answer, because you should be unselfish. So by going through this exercise, you're going back to the original question, why should I be unselfish? It doesn't really answer our question or curiosity about our supposedly good behavior. But we know in our heart that we should be unselfish in this example. Not because we are naturally unselfish, but we ought to be unselfish somehow, and somehow that's people's expectation from other people. So the moral law or law of human nature is not simple facts about human behavior like the law of gravity. Law of gravity is simple as that. We observe it, we collect the facts, and that supports the law. But human behavior, the moral law, it's not based on our day-to-day behaviors. So the conclusions. The law of human nature is not simply the way people behave in various situations. That causes us to think about, was it fair, not fair? Was it good or bad? So it's not just simply observing people's behavior and we draw conclusions saying this is the law of human nature. Therefore, it must be referring to something that is real, however, not made up by ourselves. Certain expectations. You should be doing this is not something that we created or come up with. Even though we have some variations in different culture and time, we basically agree upon this law of moral behaviors. It's not made up by humans. This is the final conclusion for chapter 3. There's something above and beyond the ordinary facts of our behavior, a real law which we find pressing on us. Some people may say it's our conscience, but that doesn't really explain to us how come everybody has similar conscience. So with this conclusion, we'll continue his conversation about the law of nature in the following chapter. So please read chapters 1 through 3, and if you have questions or comments, please leave them under the video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in chapter 4, What Lies Behind the Law.